Hare Krishna, and welcome everyone to our weekly Bhagavad Gita session. We have tried covering 17 chapter in 17 sessions, and today we'll be concluding our discussion on Bhagavad Gita by discussing chapter 18, which is titled as the perfection of renunciation. And the good news is, I was checking with Nautam Prabhuji, that he said we can continue. We can continue these sessions for a few more weeks, wherein we will pick up some themes from Bhagavad Gita. कुछ themes Bhagavad Gita से ले लेंगे, and we can discuss those themes in greater detail because we have not done enough justice to many of the important concepts of Bhagavad Gita. Uh, Over next few sessions, we will revise Bhagavad Gita by doing a deep dive into some of the important concepts which are important philosophically and also has their own importance in the practical application point of view as well. So जो हमारे जीवन को और अधिक सुकर बना सकता है, ठीक बना सकता है, हम स्ट्रेस फ्री बन सकते हैं. So we will pick up lot of those themes which come from Bhagavad Gita, एंड वो हम डिस्कस करने की कोशिश करेंगे over next few sessions. So that's a good news. I'll continue to have some engagement with this group, and all of you can also take opportunities to do a deep dive into Bhagavad Gita concepts and understand how I can practically utilize them in my life so that I can benefit out of this knowledge. Having great knowledge is one thing, but if you're not able to make use of that knowledge and get benefited out of it, then what's the use? Then that knowledge is not really a knowledge, it's just information. So let's try and extract more out of Bhagavad Gita by our discussions, through our discussions over next few more weekends. So this is a big chapter, the biggest one in the Bhagavad Gita, has about 78 verses. Lot of as I mentioned in my mentioned in my note which I sent on the group, that this is like a summary of Bhagavad Gita. This is like a revision of Bhagavad Gita, performed between Arjun and Krishna. And Krishna gives some final conclusions also. So it's not just revision. Every time concepts are revised, they are taken deeper. It's a philosophical discussion that's happening between Arjuna and Krishna. सो ये इसमें रिपीटेशन अपीयर होगा, बट if you appreciate, you will notice that every time you feel that there is a concept which is repeated, actually it is taken deeper. The understanding of that concept, the discussion goes deeper, and newer meanings are revealed by Krishna to Arjuna. So without further delay, let's jump right into this chapter. So this is where Krishna and Arjuna are speaking Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is speaking Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is listening attentively, asking questions. So this chapter will also begin with a question that Arjuna asks to Krishna, and following which the whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So so they're both standing in between two armies. Arjuna, first chapter, Arjuna spoke a lot and says, I want to see both armies from equal distance. So take my chariot in between two armies. Krishna, in a very, Krishna is not a very Siddha Sada Banda. Didmantu Prabha says that Krishna is, very Teda Meda. He's not straight like Radharani. So Krishna, instead of taking it in front of in somewhere in the middle, he deliberately took his chariot in front of Bhishma and Drona and stopped. Had he taken it in front of Duryodhana and Dushasan, Arjuna could have had different emotions altogether. There, he would have got overwhelmed by the desire to have revenge for all the wrongs that they have done. But instead, भगवान क्या करते हैं कि उनका रथ लेके जाते हैं भीष्म और द्रोण के रथ के सामने और वो रोक देते हैं, बोलते हैं आपको देखना है ना, देख लो, ये देख लो. एंड अर्जुना सीइंग देम बिकम्स ओवरवेल्म्ड बाय कंपैशन. बोलते हैं इनको क्यों मारूंगा मैं, इनको मुझे उनको इच्छा ही खत्म हो जाती है कि इनको कैसे मारूंगा. आई डोंट वांट टू किल दिस पीपल. आई डोंट वांट टू किल माय पितामह हु इज सो बिलवड, माय गुरु हु हैज टॉट मी एवरीथिंग, मैं उन्हीं की विद्या लेके उन्हीं को मारूंगा, ये करना है मुझे। एंड ये सब क्यों करना है? तो एक छोटे से टुकड़े राज्य के लिए, हम किसी को राजा बनना है, हमें राजा बनना है, हमारा वो हमको लगता है वो हमारा अधिकार है, इट्स इज अवर राइट, देयरफॉर वी शुड फाइट अ वॉर। और फॉर के चक्कर में दोनों जगह से, दोनों पार्टियों की तरफ से इतना बड़ा सैन्य आके खड़ा है। ये सैन्य कोई जीवित नहीं जाएगा, यहाँ से इतने रथी अथरथी है, महारथी है, भीष्माचार्य है, द्रोणाचार्य है, so many big warriors। तो उनके चलते, if this war were to happen, all these people will get killed, कोई बचेगा नहीं। तो ये नरसंहार क्या सचमुच जरूरी है? Is this really necessary? And gets bewildered, asks many, give many reasons to Krishna. Krishna is barely listening. Krishna is barely speaking. He's just listening to Arjuna, whatever he's speaking. And after giving a long speech, Arjun says, "No, I will not fight." And he sit down, keeping aside his Gandiva. And then in that bewildered mood, उसको पता ही नहीं चल रहा है मैं क्या करूं। क्या युद्ध जीतना चाहिए कि हारना भी ठीक है? मैं तो भक्त हूँ, मुझे डिवोटी है वो, अगर मुझे डिवोटी बन के ये नरसंहार करना है, इतना लोगों को मारना है, तो ये क्या मेरे लिए सही है? आई एम आई राइट ऑन द पाथ? तो क्या मैं सही कर रहा हूँ, मैं गलत कर रहा हूँ? तो वो बोलते हैं कि कर्पण्य दोषो पहत स्वभाव, पृच्छामि त्वाम धर्म समूढ़ चेता। मैं आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ कि मेरा धर्म क्या है, मेरी ड्यूटी क्या है, मेरे मुझे क्या करना चाहिए, और ये आप स्या निश्चितम ब्रूहि तन्वे, ये निश्चित करके मुझे बताइए। एंड शिष्यस्ते अहम शाधि मात्वम प्रपन्नम, मैं आपका शिष्य बन रहा हूँ। चैरियट में मैं ऐसे राजा जैसे बैठा हूँ और आप ड्राइवर जैसे नीचे बैठे हो, रथ हाँक रहे हो, सब मिनियल वर्क कर रहे हो। घोड़ों को, घोड़ों की मालिश करना, घोड़ों की काल घोड़ों की, यू हैव टू टेक केयर ऑफ द हॉर्सेस, फीड देम, क्लीन देम, प्रोटेक्ट देम, and then drive the road, navigate the chariot through the war, you know, be strategic. um, if you want to avoid some warrior now, you take it somewhere else, you should know all directions, you should know what's happening. So driver has a big role to play in the war, but it's nevertheless a menial service. He doesn't fight a war, he just sit there and hope that his master will fight a war and win. And all chariot drivers also get killed. It's not that they go home, it's not that they are immune to the weapons. No, a lot of them get wounded, ultimately gets killed, and are overthrown by the from their respective chariots. So it's a very horrible scene that's going to emerge, and Arjuna can see this. वो देख रहे हैं कि ये अगर वॉर ब्रेक होता है, वॉर शुरू होता है, तो ये बहुत ही हॉरिबल तरह से एंड होगा। और वो अपने आप से सवाल पूछ रहे हैं कि ये क्या करना जरूरी है, और भगवान से आके पूछ रहे हैं कि अब मैं आपका शिष्य बन रहा हूँ, आप मुझे बताइएगा। सो इसी तरह का सवाल अर्जुना इज गोइंग टू आस्क इन द चैप्टर 18 ऑल्सो, कि तभी वो पूछते हैं कि क्या मुझे करना क्या है, मुझे शुड आई। एंड ही इज डिवोटी, ही सेज आप बोलेंगे तो आपकी अगर इच्छा है तो मैं वन में चला जाऊंगा। आई विल नॉट इवन वांट एनी, आई डोंट वांट एनीथिंग। मुझे मुझे राज्य चाहिए ना, भाई चाहिए ना, बीवी चाहिए ना, घर चाहिए। आई विल गो टू फॉरेस्ट, आई विल बेग, मैं भीख मांग के अपना उधर निर्वाह कर लूंगा। पर मुझे ये वॉर इतनी बड़ी प्राइस पे करके जीत नहीं चाहिए। एंड सो अर्जुना इज थिंकिंग एट अ बॉडीली लेवल। ये मैं अर्जुन हूँ, ये मेरे भाई है सारे, ये मेरे रिश्तेदार है, ये मेरे पितामह है, ये मेरे गुरु है। नाउ दिस इज bodily consciousness, this is at a thinking of ourselves at a bodily level, and that is the problem. He gets covered by yoga maya, and forgets the spiritual consciousness of all the living entities, because Bhagavad Gita has to be spoken uh, in answer to a question which should also be perfect question. A perfect question can only invoke lords to give his best answer, inspire Lord to give best answer. So Bhagavad Gita is the best answer for the entire humanity. It is irrespective of country, caste, religion. ये सब से परे है, because Bhagavad Gita talks about the soul, which is pure in all bodies of the all the living entities, be it snake, crow, insects, human, cat, dog, hog, elephant, ant, everybody. Wherever you find living symptoms, there is a soul present, there is a super soul present, and Bhagavad Gita is applicable to them as well. So no matter whether they believe or not, Bhagavad Gita is applicable. Bhagavad Gita is working. Just like I may say I don't believe in law of gravity and thinking that I may jump from terrace. Now we may we may forget law of gravity, but law of gravity will never forget us. It will act. It will act. It will bring us down, and depending on the height, it will break our bones, or we may also die. So we may object, we may reject, we may not believe in laws of God, but they work. They work irrespective of our faith and our agreement to them. So it doesn't matter. So it's best to be in line with them, best to be aligned to them. That is our intelligence, that is most beneficial to us, to be aligned with those laws, because they are anyway going to work. So if I disagree with them and do things contrary to those laws, I will suffer. When I disagree with the law of gravity and I don't believe in it, and then I jump from the terrace, I suffer. The law of gravity doesn't care. So that's why we should align ourselves with the laws of God, laws of material nature, through which the Krishna is implementing material nature. Mother nature is implementing agency of Krishna. Durga Devi is commander in charge of this material nature, and she is the one who is giving us everything, all the enjoyments and sufferings in this world, and she is doing it under guidance of Krishna, under Maya अध्यक्षेण प्रकृति. अध्यक्षता उसकी भगवान के पास है, भगवान कृष्ण के पास है. सो उनके अध्यक्षता का नीचे ये सब हो रहा है, मतलब उनके बिना मर्जी के कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता. एंड वी शुड clearly understand this aspect. Chapter 18, summary of Karma Yoga, start from 1 to 12. Modes of material nature, summary of Jnana Yoga, 13 se 40. Ideal worker, 41 to 54. Purification through Karma Yoga, 45 to 48. And then purification through Jnana Yoga, 49 to 54. Love of God, the supreme objective, 55, 56. And end or closing about Bhagavad Gita, 67 to 78. So it's going to be a discussions long discussions. We have about 64 devotees who have joined, and request you all to be patient. Request you all to be patient. Most of you have gone through, have attended all the 17 sessions so far with great patience, and a lot of you have been watching our recordings. Most of the recordings of our 17 sessions have more than 100 views, more than 100 views, which means, and we have about 375 devotees in our group, 18 session Bhagavad Gita, which started in July. So, a lot of people are taking interest in learning Bhagavad Gita principles. So, let's be patient. Let's have a little bit more patient to go through 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita today. Lesson 1, the acronym we'll discuss is SMILE, Summary of Karma Yoga. भगवान अर्जुन उवाच संन्यासस्य महाबाहो तत्त्वमिच्छामि वेदितुं त्यागस्य च ऋषिकेश पृथक्के निशि पृथक्के पृथक्केशि निषूदन केशि निषूदन. Keshi Nishudan is the killer of the Keshi demon. And Pruthak means tell me, oh killer of the Keshi demon, कि क्या वो पूछ रहे हैं? I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, means त्याग, and the renounce order of life. Okay. So this is a similar question कि Arjuna now wants to summarize. his understanding with crystal clear understanding. So Krishna has been speaking quite a lot. When this Arjuna surrendered to him in the the seventh verse of second chapter, from then onwards, Krishna has been talking, has been speaking verse after verse, and we've seen through the 17th session कि बहुत सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स बता दिए थे, कर्म योगा, देन ज्ञान मिश्रित कर्म योगा, देन ध्यान योगा, देन 7 से 12 में प्योर डिवोशनल सर्विस, अनअलॉयड डिवोशनल सर्विस, भक्ति योगा, और 13 ऑनवर्ड्स ज्ञान योगा, 13, 14, 15, 14 was discussion on the modes of material nature were discussed during the entire chapter was dedicated towards that. Then 13 chapter started with Kshetra, no, Jnana, Geyam, and Purusha, Prakriti. Very, very difficult concepts to understand, to talk about. But Arjuna asks those questions, Krishna answers those questions. 14 chapter, modes of material nature, Sattva, Rajo, Tamo Guna. We did a deep dive on those gunas and how they affect us. Then 15th chapter was very beautiful chapter, Urdhva, where we Krishna summarizes again the Bhagavad Gita in a very very brief manner in 20 वर्सेस में पूरा भगवत गीता उन्होंने समराइज कर दिया, वेदों का अंडरस्टैंडिंग क्या है, एंड देन योमाम एवं सम्मूढ़ो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमम स सर्वविद भजति माम सर्व भावेन भारत। जो जानते हैं कि मैं पुरुषोत्तम हूँ, वो स सर्वविद भजति माम, सारे विधियों से मेरा भजन करते हैं, मेरे भक्त बन जाते हैं। सर्व भावेन भारत, विथ ऑल देयर हार्ट, कुछ छोड़ते नहीं है। वी हियर द टर्म डिवोटीज होल्ड नथिंग बैक एंड नथिंग होल्ड्स डिवोटी बैक। व्हेन डिवोटी कन्विंस हो जाता है कि कृष्ण सर्वपूर्ण पुरुषोत्तम भगवान है, तो डिवोटीज होल्ड नथिंग बैक, दे अपने लिए कुछ नहीं छोड़ते, होल हार्टेडली they start performing bhakti yoga, devotional service. They do whatever they have to do for the pleasure of Krishna, and nothing holds devotee back. कितने भी मुश्किलें आए, वो उससे पीछे नहीं हटते। भक्ति करने से उन्हें कोई नहीं रोक सकता। उतने भी चाहे मुश्किलें आए, घर वाले, बाहर वाले, गवर्नमेंट, विदेश में करना है, अपने देश में करना है, हेल्थ इश्यूज, फाइनेंस इश्यूज, nothing can stop a devotee from performing actions which are for the pleasure of Krishna. So devotees hold nothing back and nothing holds devotee back. So that is, and then 16वां अध्याय में the divine and the demoniac nature, people classified into the divine and demoniac, and then श्रद्धा त्रिविभाग योगा, श्रद्धा के 3 विभाग की। काफी श्रद्धा से लोग काफी गलत चीजें करते हैं, किसी बाबा के पीछे जाते हैं, कोई ऐसे कोई फायर के ऊपर फायर, चारों तरफ आग लगा के ध्यान करके दिखाता है कि देखो मैं कितना योगी हूँ। कोई बर्फ में, पूरी ठंड में बर्फ के ऊपर बर्फ से स्नान कर लेता है, बर्फ में जाके बैठ जाता है, और दिखाता है कि मैं योगी हूँ, इन भौतिक चीजों का मुझ पे कोई असर नहीं। कोई क्लेम करता है मैं पानी के ऊपर चलूंगा, उसके काफी भक्त बन जाते हैं। कोई क्लेम करता है कि मैं ऐसे हाथ करूंगा सोना आ जाएगा, काफी भक्त बन जाते हैं। कोई क्लेम करता है कि मैं आपका भविष्य बता दूंगा, भूत बता दूंगा, और आपका भविष्य में चेंज कर दूंगा, काफी भक्त आ जाते हैं। और ये ये सारे जने, इनके कोई ना कोई श्रद्धा है। ये जो बोलते हैं बाबा लोग, साधु लोग, और वैसे ये सारे भक्त करते रहते हैं। कभी उनको उपाय में आता है, कभी नहीं आता है, बट वो सोचते नहीं है, ज्यादा करते रहते हैं काफी। भगवान बोलते हैं कि ये अर्जुन पूछ रहा है कि ये ऐसे श्रद्धालु लोग हैं। ये बात अलग है जिनको श्रद्धा ही नहीं है, जो एथिस्ट है, जो मायावादी है, जो भगवान से भी झगड़ा कर रहे हैं, भगवान को बोल रहे हैं कि ये आपका फॉर्म भी गलत है। ये एक अलग लोग है, इनका तो नरक में जाना निश्चित है। और भक्त अलग है। बट इन दोनों के बीच में काफी सारा जन समुदाय ऐसा है जो श्रद्धालु है और श्रद्धा से कुछ ना कुछ करता रहता है। कोई ना कोई आरती, किसी की आरती करता है, कोई माता की, कोई ये माता वो माता, कोई ये इस पहाड़ पे चढ़ के जाता है, कोई वहां चल के जाता है, कोई ऐसे फास्ट करता है, कोई 1 महीना फास्ट करता है, कोई 2 महीना फास्ट करता है, कोई दाढ़ी बढ़ा लेता है, कोई दाढ़ी बाल बढ़ा लेता है, कोई पूरे दाढ़ी मूंछ का कटवा देता है, अलग अलग चीजें करते रहते हैं। और सो उन सब में होता क्या है, तो ऑल दैट वाज डिस्कस इन अवर लास्ट सेशन, श्रद्धा त्रिविभाग योगा। और वहां से हम अभी अर्जुन पूछेंगे कि संन्यास और त्याग ये क्या चीज है। सो इन एवरी चैप्टर ऑफ भगवद गीता लॉर्ड कृष्णा स्ट्रेस दैट डिवोशनल सर्विस unto the supreme personality of godhead is ultimate goal of life. The same point is summarized in the 18th chapter as the most confidential path of knowledge. It was concluded that all acts should be performed in conjunction with the Supreme Lord, represented by the word Om Tat Sat, which indicates Vishnu, the Supreme Person. Rishikesha is Krishna, the master of all senses, who can always help us attain mental serenity. Keshi was formidable demon who was killed by Lord. Therefore, Arjuna is asking Krishna to kill the demon of his doubt. भगवान बोलते हैं सुप्रीम पर्सनालिटी ऑफ गॉड हेड सेड काम्यनाम कर्मणाम न्यासम संन्यासम कवयो विदुहु सर्व कर्म फल त्यागम प्राहुस त्यागम विचक्षणा। भगवान बोलते हैं कि the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyasis, do. And giving up the result of all activities is what is called as renunciation. ये दो कॉन्सेप्ट भगवान एक्सप्लेन करते हैं। सो एक दो टर्म्स भगवान इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, नित्य कर्म एंड काम्य कर्म। नित्य कर्म, जैसे कि यहाँ ऊपर के पिक्चर में आप देख रहे हैं कि बच्चे बैठ के संध्या वंदन कर रहे हैं। रोज हमें बोला गया है प्रभुपाद जी ने कि 16 माला करनी है, भगवत गीता पढ़नी है, भागवतम पढ़ना है। सो ये हमारा नित्य कर्म है, डिवोटीज के साथ बात करनी है। यू हैव टू स्पीक विद डिवोटीज एवरी डे, ट्राई एंड स्पीक विद देम एवरी डे, ट्राई एंड serve them every day, if not every day, at least few, after every few days, after at least once a week, after at least once a month, भगवान के पास जाइए, टेम्पल जाइए, दंडवत कीजिए, भक्तों को दंडवत कीजिए, कथा सुनिए, प्रसाद लीजिए भक्तों के साथ, उनसे अपने डाउट्स पूछिए, उनसे पूछिए कि मैं और भक्ति में प्रगति कैसे करूं, मेरा जप नहीं हो रहा है मैं क्या करूं, सुबह उठने नहीं हो रहा है क्या करूं, ये यहाँ जाना पड़ता है कैसे मैं डील करूं सिचुएशंस को। तो दिस इज नित्य कर्म, ये प्रभुपाद जी ने हमारे लिए दिया है और ये सभी को करना है। काम्य कर्म क्या होता है? काम्य कर्म विच इज डन टू फुलफिल सम पर्सनल डिजायर, जैसे कि पुत्र कामेष्टि यज्ञ किया जाता है। पुत्र कामेष्टि यज्ञ इज डन विद अ डिजायर टू हैव चाइल्ड। सो सन्यासी और त्याग क्या फर्क होता है? सो सन्यासी इज द वन हु गिव अप काम्य कर्म, सन्यासी नेवर गिव अप नित्य कर्म। सन्यासी महाराज जैसे कि थे, प्रभुपाद खुद थे, तो वो भी नित्य कर्म रोज करते थे, अपनी जपमाला करते थे, अपनी जपा करते थे, अपना रीडिंग करते थे, अपना लेक्चर्स देते थे। जो नित्य कर्म है वो तो करना है सन्यासी को, काम्य कर्म नहीं करते थे। सो ही डिडंट हैड एनी अदर डिजायर अदर देन प्लीजिंग कृष्णा। So, Tyaga, on the other hand, means perform all Kamya Karma and Nitya Karma, but without seeking results. Acting for results has to be given up. But activities leading to advanced spiritual knowledge, purification, and liberation are not given up. so, so, so again, here the sannyasis and the grahasthas, the marriage is a kamya karma, and should a sannyasi arrange or perform marriage ceremony for his disciples? We see from example of Srila Prabhupada that he was a sannyasi, and he was wearing saffron, and he was obviously not associating with women, and that's what all every sannyasi should do, is they should not have any association of any kind with women. Anyone who is wearing saffron should should not have any association, any kind of association with women. But despite of that, Prabhupada performed marriage ceremony for his disciples. Why? Because they didn't had the same consciousness. They, if he would have forcibly forced them to accept saffron and become brahmachari, but if their heart is not purified enough and they abruptly become brahmacharis like this, there is a possibility that their mind will still continue to dwell on the sense object. which means at the first available opportunity, there is a great danger of the falling down. A sannyasi, anyone who is wearing brahmat, uh, a saffron, has to be celibate, has to follow strict brahmacharya vrata. So there's no compromise on that possible. But a person who is forced to wear saffron before his heart is completely purified, cured, uh, he may not be able to hold on to the vows of brahmacharya and may fall down, and then that can itself become a big risk, big danger for his devotional life. So if his disciples, those, so Prabhupada differentiated between disciples, those who are inclined to have be in the grahastha ashram. Prabhupada encouraged them to get married and live with their wives. Marriage is a ceremony that is performed in front of Agni, which is representative of Vishnu, which is Brahmanas, who are again representatives of Devatas, Vishnu. They are chanting mantras. They are, all the relatives are present, and they witness a marriage where vows are taken in front of Agni that I'll protect my wife, and wife will serve my wife. She also takes vows that she will serve husband and his family throughout one's life. Not that it's a contract, not that it's जब तक होगा तब देखेंगे, बाद में देखते हैं, नया देख लूंगे. No, so these are commitment for lifetime. The marriage itself would have been arranged with the help of with by the consent of the elders in the family, which means the boy and girl don't go and talk to each other and then decide we will get married, then come back home and tell their parents that, oh, we have decided to get married. That is irreligious. What is religion? Religion is when parents decide marriage, guru decide marriage, your elder decides marriage, and you get married. So you have a sense of detachment right from the beginning, but you will do all the activities with affection, but without being detached, without getting attached. You will perform all your activities as a kartavya, and in that way you will successfully live life of a grahastha, and you can still be Krishna conscious. You will get up early. You will be able to get up early in the morning. Uh, where where else married couples want to get up early in the morning? No, but if the devotee couples will get up early in the morning, they will attend Mangalarati, they will perform their japa, they will do their reading, and they will cook nice bhoga, offer it to Lord, and give the tiffin to the husband, that husband can have food prasad and go to office, work, come back, do some kirtan at home in front of his deities, offer bhoga, eat dinner, read something from Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Krishna book, Chaitan Chatamrut, and then sleep, and then repeat. So it's a devotional married life that one can have. Uh, and that is because of the ashirwad given by brahmanas, by relatives, by our elder, and with the commitment vows taken in front of Agni. That is all what makes a marriage a pure ceremony. So a sannyasi himself should not get married, but he should encourage those disciples who are inclined to get married, who have inclination towards getting married. He should definitely help them get married to right girls, and in that marriage itself, married life itself, perform devotional service without giving it up. It's not a holiday from bhakti, it's not a holiday from japa. Now both of you should wake up early in the morning and do japa, both of you should perform kirtan, both of you should do reading in the evening. So both of you should be know how to offer bhoga and cook bhoga, offer it to Lord and take it as prasad. Both should follow the same thing. There is some pleasure, there is some facility, there is some additional facility available in marriage. So they don't have to be live austere life like brahmacharis do. They don't have to sleep on hard surface. They can have nice bed. They can have nice children. They can have bank balance. They can work for the maintenance of their family. They can save money for maintaining their future for the children. Uh, but they are also supposed to give money, do charity for the propagation of Krishna consciousness activities as well. So those are the responsibilities of Grahastha. Prabhupada, Krishna says further that some learned men declare that all kind of creative work activity should be given up as faulty. Yet other sages maintain that act of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. Now, um, he is talking about sacrifice, charity, and penance. Sacrifice means um charity is dan, penance is tapa or austerities, austerities and penance, and sacrifice is the sacrifice. So these three things, sacrifice, charity, penance, should never be abandoned. निश्चयं शृणु मे तत्र त्यागे भरतः सत्तमम् त्यागो ही पुरुष व्याघ्र त्रिविधः संप्रकीर्तितः. Best of Bharata is calling him Purusha Vyaghra, a tiger amongst men. There's so much love is between Arjuna and Krishna. Both of them call each other with different name. Very beautiful relationship that they both enjoyed. Purusha Vyaghra, very beautiful term Krishna is using to describe Arjuna. The best of Bharatas. Now hear my judgment about renunciation. Renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kind. यज्ञ दान तप कर्म न त्याज्यम कार्यमेव तत् यज्ञो दानम तपश्चैव पावनानि मनीषिणा. Act of sacrifice, charity, and penance, yajna, dana, tapa, are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. The yogis, Prabhupada writes in the purport, the yogis should perform act for the advancement of human society. There are many purificationary processes for advancing a human being to spiritual life. The Lord says that that any sacrifice which is meant for human welfare should never be given up. Vivaha Yagya, the marriage ceremony, is meant to regulate the human mind so that it may become peaceful for spiritual advancement. All prescribed sacrifices are meant for achieving the Supreme Lord. Vedescha sarver aham eva vedya. So even marriage should be performed for making your mind peaceful and so that you can concentrate on performing spiritual advancement, performing devotional service for spiritual advancement. नॉट दैट मैरिड होने के बाद जपा भूल जाओ, नॉट दैट मैरिड होने के बाद मंदिर आना भूल जाओ. नाउ अब दोनों को आना है. मैरिज, बिफोर मैरिज यू अलोन आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू कम टू टेम्पल. नाउ यू आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू ब्रिंग योर वाइफ ऑल्सो टू द टेम्पल. योर वाइफ, यू आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू एंश्योर दैट the sufficient knowledge and facilities provided to your wife also, whereby she can learn Bhagavad Gita, she can understand Srimad Bhagavatam, she can hear Krishna Katha, and she can perform japa, she can perform some devotional service, some deity worship, some make palan, make cook bhoga, offer it to Lord, or serve devotees. She gets some opportunity to render practical devotional service apart from Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. And so it's not meant for enjoyment. Even marriage is not meant for enjoyment. There's a role. Both of them now should progress in the spiritual advancement. It is meant for spiritual advancement, even marriage. So that's Prabhupada repeat that point. All sacrifices are meant for advancing, achieving the Supreme Lord. Therefore, in the lower stages, they should not be given up. Prabhupada himself was performing. Prabhupada was famous as the one who is always chanting. His hand would always be in the bead bag and he would be chanting. In all his free time, he would be chanting. So, yajna or sacrifice, the Sankirtan Yajna. Sankirtan Yajna is the recommended yajna for the Kali Yuga, and Prabhupada practically was doing it 24 hours a day. He was practically chanting 24 hours a day. And Yajna Dana. Dan, what you possess Krishna. Prabhupada possessed Krishna in his heart. He actually had connection with Krishna and he was distributing Krishna by giving Harinam Diksha to his disciples. So Prabhupada, this is the highest charity you can do in the month of book distribution. The highest charity, highest welfare you can do for any soul is by giving them Bhagavad Gita, connecting them with Krishna, introducing them to the Krishna consciousness. And that is the highest welfare for a human society. And Prabhupada did that without any. did that. He had more than 5,000 initiated disciples when he left his body, when he left this material world, when he concluded uh, his leela in the material world. He had more than 100 temples open, millions of people affected positively by his vibrations, and more than 5,000 initiated disciples and sannyasis who were ready to take that movement ahead. So that's Prabhupada. In the third picture, you can see Prabhupada paying obeisances. Yajna, dana, tapa. Tapa is austerity. And in old age, it was difficult for him daily to pay obeisances to his lordships, but he would do that. No matter how difficult and painful it was for him, nevertheless, he did just that because he wanted to set example for his disciples that yajna, dana, tapa, these three activities should not be even given up by anyone who's himself, who is a pure devotee also, what to speak of others. So these three things must be done. The sixth verse, all these activities should be performed without attachment or expectations of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, O Pratha. That is my final opinion. Next is a renunciation in three modes. Uh, the modes of material nature is a subtle aspect of human mind, and that has been discussed elaborately in Bhagavad Gita. No other scriptures talk even about mind properly. They're not even introducing mind to their in their religious book. What to speak of soul? Soul is also not talked about properly. So Prabhupada take all this discussion. The Lord Krishna has taken this discussion way higher or deeper, as you may choose to see, than any other scriptures. And that's why Bhagavad Gita is considered to be the highest philosophical book, which gives the highest benediction, the best of all. Even if the world has to come to an end, it should be left with one Bhagavad Gita. And then it doesn't matter. The one can end, and then the new world can come up, and they can become devotees basis the Bhagavad Gita as it is written by Srila Prabhupada. So it is that significant. So the seventh verse, Krishna is saying that prescribed duties. Now the way he's talking about, so the modes of material nature is something very special in Bhagavad Gita. More than 100 verses are dedicated towards discussion of these modes of material nature out of 700 verses. So here also we'll see a lot of reference to the modes of material nature in the 18th chapter. So in these three verses, Krishna is explaining the renunciation, tyaga in three modes. Agar prescribed duties should never be renounced. Anyone who give up prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Hippies, hippies were giving up their families, giving up their education, jobs, and what were they doing? They were roaming in groups, not taking bath for days and months, having long beard, long hairs, and they would be singing. They have some instrument. They will sing. They will drink. They will smoke. They will take drugs, and they will go high, and then they will talk. They will reject all the systems in the society. They'll reject family system. They'll reject God. They reject everything. And they were practically living life of animals. And they would roam around in group. Everyone would have relationship with every other one, and that kind of animal culture with which they were living. So this is renunciation. They were renunciate. They had nothing. Sarva dharman parityajya. Prabhupada used to say that these hippies had already done सर्व धर्मान परित्यज्य. जो उनका धर्म था, माता पिता के प्रति, समाज के प्रति, गवर्नमेंट के प्रति, अपने दोस्तों के प्रति, अपने भाई बहनों के प्रति, अपने बाकी लोगों के प्रति, देश के लोगों के प्रति सारे धर्म उन्होंने छोड़ दिए. सब कुछ छोड़ दिया. आई जस्ट टॉट देम माम एकम शरणम व्रज. भगवान कृष्ण के शरण में कैसे जाए, ये उतना मैंने उनको सिखा दिया. और वंस दे गॉट कनेक्टेड विद कृष्णा, दे वर ट्रांसफॉर्म. सो सर्वधर्मान परित्यज्य वो तो पहले ही कर चुके थे. दैट्स व्हाई वी सी देयर एग्जांपल. इफ रिनाउंसिएशन इन द मोड ऑफ इग्नोरेंस, तमोगुणी रिनाउंसिएशन. दुखमित्येव यत्कर्म काया क्लेश भया त्यजेत. काया क्लेश के भय से जो त्याग कर देता है यत्कर्म, नित्य कर्म को, वो that is in the mode of passion. The one anyone who give up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Boy wish to join temple and become a devotee. Full time devotee बनना है मुझे. क्यों? क्योंकि घर पे कोई मुझे भाव नहीं देता है, घर पे कोई मेरी इज्जत नहीं है, घर पे कोई मुझे खाना नहीं देता, घर पे मेरा ख्याल नहीं रखा जाता. टेम्पल में आऊंगा तो कम से कम 2-3 बार खाना तो मिलेगा ठीक से. सो that is not a right way to renounce. That's not a right reason to renounce. मेरे गर्लफ्रेंड ने मुझे रिजेक्ट कर दिया, नो बोल दिया. मैंने प्रपोज किया था, उसने रिजेक्ट कर दिया. नाउ अभी मुझे संसार में मन उठ गया है, अभी मैं मंदिर जाके भक्त बनूंगा. मैं ऐसे भक्त नहीं बनते. You have to have genuine attraction towards Krishna, genuine attraction towards devotees. Then only you can become a devotee and you can become a sustainable devotee. ऐसा नहीं आज आए कल भाग जाओगे आप. So that is mode of passion. That is renunciation in the mode of passion. And कार्यमित्येव यत्कर्म नियतम क्रियते जन संग त्यक्त्वा फलम चाइव स त्याग सात्विको मत. सात्विक का रिनाउंसिएशन कैसा होता है? तो वो अर्जुन, व्हेन वन परफॉर्म इज प्रिस्क्राइब ड्यूटी ओनली यत कर्म नियतम क्रियते निर्जन कार्यमित्येव, जो बिकॉज इट इज ऑट टू बी डन, बिकॉज ये मेरा कर्तव्य है, ये सोच के अगर कोई नियत कर्म करता है बट त्याग देता है, फल त्याग, संग त्यक्त्वा फलम चैव स त्याग सात्विको मतः. एंड renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit. His renunciation said to be in the mode of goodness. In the next verse, Arjuna is saying that it is indeed, Krishna is saying that it is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but who has renounced the fruit of action is the called one who has truly renounced. Now, the question started, the chapter started by discussion कि रिनाउंस करना है कि त्याग करना है. मतलब कार्य तो करना है कि कार्य, रिनाउंस मतलब क्या, कार्य नहीं करना है. बट अर्जुना से कृष्ण से नहीं नहीं ऐसा नहीं है. रिनाउंस और सन्यासी कार्य कुछ भी नहीं करते ऐसे नहीं है. कार्य करते हैं, नित्य कर्म करते हैं, उनको काम्य कर्म नहीं करते जिससे उनको फल धन लाप्ति हो, हमें मेडिकल हेल्थ अच्छी हो. वो पूर्णपणे में अभय है, वो भगवान के ऊपर पूर्णपणे डिपेंडेंट है. सो सन्यासीज काम्य कर्म नहीं करते, नित्य कर्म करते हैं. एंड यज्ञ दान तप, ये एक्टिविटीज तो सभी को करनी चाहिए ना. ये एक्टिविटी अगर सन्यासी भी करते हैं और जो अदर लोग हैं नॉन सन्यासीज है वो भी काफी सारे काम करते हैं, तो उनमें फर्क क्या है? तो उनमें त्याग की भावना से कर्म करना चाहिए. त्याग की भावना इज नॉट बीइंग अटैच्ड टू द फ्रूट्स ऑफ अवर एक्शन. अगर कोई ऐसे कर्म कर सकता है तो ही इज एज गुड एज सन्यासी. सो सो उसको संन्यास लेने की जरूरत नहीं है, बट उसको अटैच डिटैच होना पड़ेगा फल प्राप्ति से. सो वेल डूइंग यू शुड डू एज योर ड्यूटी. नाउ भगवान तीसरे अध्याय में भी बताते हैं कि कर्म किए बिना तो एक क्षण भी नहीं रह सकते हम. तीसरे अध्याय में नहीं कश्चित क्षणमपि, कि एक क्षण भी शरीर का निर्वाह होना मुश्किल है. तो हमें कर्म तो छोड़ने की बात करनी ही नहीं चाहिए, कर्म तो करना ही चाहिए. तो अभी भी हम लोग, आप सब लोग सांस ले रहे हैं, वी आर ऑल ब्रीदिंग. ना दिस इज ऑल्सो कर्म. ये इनवॉलेंटरी एक्शन है बट एक्शन तो है. एंड वॉलेंटरी एक्शन है, जैसे मैं हाथ ऊपर उठा रहा हूँ, ये हाथ ऊपर उठाऊं, यार वॉलेंटरी एक्शन से ये अपने आप नहीं उठते. मैं सोचता हूँ कि मैं अभी लेफ्ट हैंड उठाऊंगा तभी मेरा हाथ ऊपर आता है. सो दीज आर वॉलेंटरी एक्शन. सो एक्शंस तो होते रहेंगे, एक्शंस तो करते रहेंगे. वी कैन नॉट स्टॉप परफॉर्मिंग एक्शन. सो but what we have to do is we have to renounce the fruits of action. And one that is called renounce, has truly renounced. Prabhupada writes in the purport, it is said in the Bhagavad Gita that one can never give up work at any time. Therefore, who work for Krishna and does not enjoy the fruitive result, who offer everything to Krishna, is actually a renouncer. Prabhupada writes very important paragraph. there are many members in the beginning of our movement. ISKCON was formed in 1966, and it didn't had anything. Prabhupada established this uh, trust in New York initially, and then started spreading all over the world. But it didn't had money. It didn't had a lot of disciples. So at that time, uh, many devotees actually used to work outside. The Jayanand Prabhu, who used to be the temple president for San Francisco temple, he used to drive taxi whole day, and whatever he would earn, he would give it to Prabhupada. And then it was used for maintenance of the temple, for deity worship, for buying paraphernalia, bhoga for deities and everything. So practically devotees were supporting the temple. And that is how they were, running the temples, and they didn't had any much donations. So Prabhupada is saying for those members that there are many members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, who work very hard in their office or in the factory or in some other place, and whatever they earn, they give it to the society. Such highly elevated souls are actually sannyasis and are situated in the renounced order of life. So those people were actually grahasthas. But Prabhupada is writing in this purport that those people who are working for Krishna are actually like sannyasis. They are as good as sannyasis. It is clearly outlined here that how to renounce the fruit of work and for what purpose fruit should be renounced. Again, we shouldn't do it for any purpose. We should give it for Krishna, and then it is accepted. Then we are not bound by the reactions of that work. Also, if as long as we are renouncing the fruit that we get out of that work. Anishtam ishtam mishram cha trividham karmanah phalam अभवत्य भवत्य त्यागिनां प्रीत्य न तु संन्यासिना क्वचन क्वचित. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट वर्स. फॉर वन हु इज नॉट रिनाउंस, उनका क्या, जो जो फल के लिए काम करते हैं, जो जिनको फल एंजॉय करना है, मैं जॉब करूंगा, फिर मुझे बहुत सारे पैसे मिलेंगे, मैं ये घर लूंगा, मैं ऐसे एसी में सोऊंगा, मैं ऐसे फॉरेन ट्रिप करूंगा, मैं ऐसे अपने परिवार को लेके वेकेशन पे जाऊंगा, ये कार लूंगा, वो गहने लूंगा. एवरीवन इज पजेस. मैं ये ड्रेस लूंगा, यहाँ जाऊंगा, ये घर लूंगा, दो घर लूंगा, चार घर लूंगा, तीन गाड़ी रखूंगा, मेकअप करूंगा, मेकअप करूंगी. whatever are our endless desires. In between that, when we work with those desires, then there is not work which is offered for Krishna, work done for Krishna. So वो वर्क, इस तरह का कार्य में अनिष्ट, मतलब अनिष्ट इष्ट, मतलब good and bad and mishra means mix. All kind of fruits will accrue. All kind of fruits will accrue when we act in the consciousness of enjoying and controlling. With that consciousness, when we act, it all our actions produce anishtam, that is bad, ishtam, good, and mishra fruit. And those fruits accrue to us after death. Bhavatya tyaginam pritya. Pritya is death, and they accrue to us after death. Just like every day, if you're kept maintaining a fixed deposit with bank, every day interest, you're earning interest on it. And when that comes on the expiry date, that entire interest accumulated, accrued throughout the year is paid to you suddenly. So you would have invested 1 lakh, and after 1 year you get 1,07,000, because this 7,000 which you are not seeing, but it was accruing. Similarly, your karma is accruing to you, and on the expiry of the fixed deposit, the accumulated interest is delivered to it, and the expiry of the soul from the body, accumulated karma is delivered to that karma, to that soul. So but those who are in the renounce order of life have no such result to offer. Now, renounce also, we discussed two type of renounce. One is actually renounce, one who is living life of a sannyasi, and second who is living life of a grahastha but acting like a sannyasi, because by performing action they are not attached to the fruits of those action. They are dedicating those fruits completely to Krishna. Now, such sannyasis, such so-called sannyasis or such grahastha sannyasis, प्लस नॉर्मल सन्यासीज, उनको ये डर नहीं है. उनको उनके कर्मों का फल नहीं मिलता है, बिकॉज दे आर एबल टू बर्न देयर एग्जिस्टिंग कर्मा एंड their current actions don't produce any new karma. So that is how they are saved. Otherwise everyone else, so we have to ask ourselves whether we come in the category, first category or the second category. Am I accruing karma every day? When I'm acting, when I'm cooking, am I cooking for my pleasure? Am I, when I'm eating, am I eating it as a prasad with the consciousness of it being prasad, or we are eating to enjoy because it's my favorite dish, made my mother, my wife, and my hotel has delivered it. I have earned it with my money, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of I, my, myself. When that is present, all that is unlikely to be done for the pleasure of Krishna. Is done for my own pleasure, which means. Uh, अनिष्टम इष्टम मिश्रम च, ये फ्रूट तो मिलेगा, ये फ्रूट तो अक्रू हो रहा है, विच मीन्स आई विल बी डिलीवर्ड दिस fruits after I leave this body, and I will start my new life with the fresh fruits. So I will come back again for my purification. We'll skip group discussions as much as possible. Lesson 2, smile, modes of nature and summary of Jnana Yoga. There was a interesting match which took place. It was in it happened in the uh, IPL of last year, 2023 IPL final, and I will share the screen, and we can watch what happened, and then we can try and answer some questions. Can everybody see the screen? You can unmute and somebody can speak. Can you see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, yes, cool. We're not going to watch entire match. So, can somebody explain what happened here? We saw two deliveries. Anybody, any expert? Very quick.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Um, so obviously the batsman out here had a positive intent of striking both the balls to the victory.
No, no.
So the
Yeah,
first,
can you just explain the basics because some of this may not follow. So this was IPL final 2023, final match between two teams, and two balls and 10 runs. I think that was the situation. Correct?
correct. Gujarat
And
and
yes,
was the
go ahead.
team. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the backdrop. Yeah, go ahead, Project.
So I was saying ki,
So Kishore Prabhuji, I think got dropped. Somebody else want to try? What really happened there? Yes, Sudeep
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
So, Prabhuji, it was 2 balls, 10 runs were remaining to be done, and then one ball was bowled, and with that, the batsman probably hit a six, So in the last ball, 4 runs were remaining to be scored.
And then the last ball was also bowled, and then they started running because they actually scored that 4 run
Yes,
in the
yes.
last ball. So the question is, who was the doer?
So in this case, the batsman thinks that I am the doer because I have scored in both the balls and scored the remaining runs. So and with a spiritual realization, he should realize that it is all the power provided by the Lord, so that he could hit it in the proper direction and it cross the boundaries.
Okay, so in the normal circumstances, a person think that he is the doer. That you would have seen that after sitting hitting that last ball, the batsman started running everywhere, and everyone was hugging him, everyone was praising him, they were congratulating him. Now he didn't pause to say thank God. Why? Because we lack obviously the spiritual realization. So which are the factors which contributed to he being able to hit those 10 runs in 2 balls? If anybody can identify, which are the factors which contribute to us do anything which leads to the effect that we get.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Roger.
Prabhuji, it is focus of mind, mental strength, and also the willingness to win. So this is what, and also the relevant skill.
Skill, mental focus. Yes, Kishore Prabhu, you are back, I think. Yeah, which are the factors which contribute to us actually doing anything? This is just example of somebody hitting 10 runs in 2 balls, but in anything, any achievement that we do, we consider it to be heroic. कि मैंने ये किया, achieve किया. So, which are the factors which contribute to our success? Kishore Prabhu, you're back. You can speak, or anybody else can speak. Unmute and speak.
Hare
It's
Krishna
your
Prabhuji.
Correct.
Yes, Kishore Prabhu, yes, and then others.
It's actually your focus and your confidence, and if you're knowledgeable enough to what you're
Skills.
doing, the skill, and yeah, these are the important factors.
Okay. Yes, Anamika Mataji, and then Vili Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Yes.
Prabhuji, I feel it's like dedication, the determination, the willingness to work hard to achieve the goal. These are the factors. And of course, the power from the Lord. Everything depends on the mercy of the Lord, and willingness of the Lord.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vili Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. In addition to all these factors, my addition is the belief in God.
Belief in God. Yeah. So there's some answers I think which are coming on the chat box. I'll just quickly go through them. Willpower, skill, determination, our capacity, Lord's grace, Krishna's mercy, hard work, dedication, coupled with intent. Yeah, all nice answers. So let's see what Krishna has to say in this regard. But that's going to be the topic for discussion for next few verses. So let's see uh, what's Lord's opinion. So this is the verse, 13th verse. Krishna says that, "O mighty Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all actions. Now learn these 5 clauses from me. अधिष्ठानम तथा कर्ता कारणम च पृथक विधम विवा विविधाश्च पृथक चेष्टा दैवम चैवात्र panchamam. The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, many different kind of endeavors, and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action. So the 5 factors the 5 factors prescribed in the link is Jiva's acting as a doer that takes place only with the Lord's permission and depends on the body and senses given by the Lord. one who sees only the jiva as the doer of action is foolish. What's mentioned here is the jiva, the soul has to desire, super soul has to sanction, and based on the sanction of the super soul, material nature will organize, will arrange for such action to have taken place. So in this case, the soul of the batsman was desirous of hitting those 10 runs for the victory of his team in 2 balls, and there was a sanction from super soul. Super soul within his heart had sanctioned this, that I want to do it, and Krishna said, yes, you can do it, you should do it, you should be allowed to do it. So there is a sanction by Krishna. So this is the super soul, this is Jivatma, this is Paramatma. Now both of them are sitting in your heart. Once Paramatma's sanction comes, the material energy work, material nature works. His hands has the power to hit. He has a footwork, border balls in such a way that he is able to loft it over long on for a six. Now all that got arranged because there was a sanction. Even if the sanction were not to be there, he would have still played that shot and would have got caught at the boundary. Or there could have been wind which would have prevented that six from landing in the crowd. Instead of going to the crowd, it would have gone to the fielder. So none of those factors are in the control of the soul, who is the desirer. But when he desires and Lord sanctions, everything happens, everything falls in place, and the ball goes for a six. The next ball is also bowled in such a way that he is able to swing his bat in such a way that it goes for a four, and he's been able to score 10 runs in 2 balls. Uh, and it could happen only by the sanction of the Lord. Now, this is what the point Prabhupada is also making, that but one who see only the jiva as the doer of action is foolish. All those people who were cheering for that batsman, maybe 1 lakh people were there in the Ahmedabad that day. None of them had the thought that Krishna allowed him to score those 10 runs. Thank you, Krishna. None of them probably would have thought. No, this thought itself would not have crossed across any mind. So all of those people also need to learn Bhagavad Gita along with the players of those two rooms, two teams, because then they understand the reality that it could have been done only with the sanction of Krishna. So all they need to do is to pray to Krishna, thank Krishna after for allowing them to win. So that is how deep this knowledge is, and now this is applicable to our day-to-day actions also. You are able to wake up. You may sleep tonight thinking I will wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning next day for japa. You may have a spiritual desire, but you waking up happens by Krishna's sanction. Your waking up or you not waking up depends on the sanction of Krishna. When that sanction is there, you are able to wake up. When the sanction is not there, hari bol, you are gone. You're gone for your next birth. So everything happens with the sanction of Krishna. How minutely we are controlled by Krishna, and we keep thinking we are on our own. We keep thinking I can do this, I can do that, I am hero, I am a champion, I am this, I am that, I become proud of all my achievements. Now, now we understand that everything happens with the sanction of Krishna. The material nature simply arranges it in to look as if I have done everything. And that is why I get fooled by by these arrangements. So Adhishthana, the place, the karta, the doer, the karana, the senses, chishta, the effort exerted, and a daiva, sanction of God or destiny. These 5 factors cause action. Tatraiva sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha. Which means, therefore, one who think himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and be cannot see things as they are. All of us fall in this category to a great degree. Every day, how many times we are able to thank God? We will have to do keep thinking God all the time, because if I am able to wake up in the morning, right from waking up in the morning till I go to sleep, whether I will fall asleep or not also depends on the sanction of the Lord. I may not fall asleep. I may sleep, try to sleep in a very, very comfortable, soft, air conditioned room, nice bed, with belly filled with food, everything nice, but sleep may just not come. There are many people who are suffering from loss of sleep. Every day they take sleeping pills. So it doesn't depend. I Nothing is in my control. Sleeping is in my not in my control. What to speak of waking up? What to speak of digestion? Food digestion happens by the sanction of the Lord. Krishna says, 15th chapter Bhagavad Gita, that aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam deham ashrita prana apana samayukta pachamya anna chaturvidham. Pachamya, digestion of your food, four type of food stuff that you're eating, depends on my sanction. What to speak of everything else? So much is our dependence on Krishna, so much, and therefore anybody who forget this is not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. Means he is considered to be in Maya. He's not in Krishna consciousness. He's in Maya. And now think of everyone in your phone book and everyone around you, everyone in your society, everyone in your friend circle, all your relatives. Think how many of those people know this reality. They know this truth. That's because all of them, half of them probably would have heard Bhagavad Gita from somewhere, or must be having Bhagavad Gita in their cupboards. But unless you access the knowledge, you don't get the knowledge. By keeping engineering books in my cupboard, I don't become engineer. I just need to study engineering book and practice and go to college, hear from my superiors, and then practice accordingly, work accordingly, study accordingly, and then I get knowledge. Then I can hope to become engineer. Otherwise, by keeping purchasing book and keeping it in the cupboard, I cannot become engineer, neither a doctor nor a chartered accountant. Similarly, I cannot understand the mysteries of Krishna consciousness, mysteries of Krishna. I can only understand when Krishna favors me, Krishna become merciful to me, or his devotees become merciful to me. Prabhupada writes in the purport that a foolish person cannot understand that super soul is sitting as a friend within and conducting his actions. Although the material causes are the place, the worker, the endeavor, and the senses, the final cause is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, one should see not only the four material causes, but the supreme efficient cause as well. One who does not see the supreme cause think himself to be the doer. Big problem, because then that doership, anybody doership will accrue the fruits, will give him pride, will give him arrogance, and that will, and all those actions will produce fruits. Karma phala ke liye bechara वापस he will have to take birth, to suffer or enjoy his karma phala. So he cannot escape the repeated cycle of birth and death, and he has to keep coming back into this material world. 17वां श्लोक में भगवान बोलते हैं कि one who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he is though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor he is bound by his action. Now, from this to another extreme, Krishna says that if I'm asking you to kill all these people assembled in the battlefield, and you're thinking this can be sinful, but if you kill these people with the right consciousness, in Krishna consciousness, as a matter of seva to me, um, this killing is not killing. Killing is not, you're not bound by the action of this killing, which is otherwise a very ghastly action, can become a devotional action if done with the right consciousness. The Lord informs Arjuna that desire not to fight arise from false ego. Arjuna thought to himself that he is the doer of action, and therefore he was not considering the supreme sanction within without of Krishna, but one who knows the instrument of work. himself as the worker, and the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Sanctioner, is perfect in doing everything. Such a person is never illusion. Personal activity and responsibility arise from false ego and godlessness or a lack of Krishna consciousness. Anyone who is acting in Krishna consciousness under the directions of Supreme Super Soul or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though killing does not kill, nor he is ever affected by the reactions of such killing. Example Prabhupada gives: the soldier kills under command of superior officer is not subjected to be judged. In fact, but he same soldier go home and kill on his personal account, and he is certainly judged. So soul desires, Krishna sanctions, and material nature executes, and we think we are the doers. Knowledge in goodness. Now we'll have series of verses in three batches where we will see what does it mean. Knowledge in goodness, passion, ignorance, action, goodness, passion, ignorance. So knowledge in goodness, passion, ignorance. Please pay attention. These are also very critical, and all of these can be discussed in great detail with examples, and that can become a class by itself. So 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I remember I was going through my notes. We studied this chapter in 12 sessions. 2 hours, 12, it's almost 24 hours we spent on discussing this single chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which we are now trying to do it, compress everything in 2 sessions. So don't think this is great. You have understood whole Bhagavad Gita. It's just the beginning. We have not even scratched the tip of an iceberg. So need deep dive, much more deep dive is needed. We are only taking very high level view of Bhagavad Gita. So knowledge in three modes: sattvagun, rajogun, tamogun. The knowledge in sattva gun is to see the same type of soul in all living entity. Passion means a different type of souls in living entities, and no soul is mode of ignorance. Action, effort is regulated by Shastra. तस्मात् शास्त्र प्रमाणेन कार्य अकार्य व्यवस्थितो. 16वें अध्याय में हमने ये देखा था. So that is effort that is regulated by Shastra is mode of goodness. Passion is effort, is unregulated effort or overwhelming desire to enjoy. ये 24वें वर्ष में मिला है. ये सब वर्ष नंबर्स है. 23 वर्ष, 24 वर्ष और 25 वर्ष. 25 वर्ष एक्सप्लेन्स इग्नोरेंस, कि इग्नोरेंस में एक्शन कैसे की जाती है. डिसरिगार्ड शास्त्र, परफॉर्म इन इल्यूजन, कॉज वायलेंस एंड डिस्ट्रेस टू अदर्स. So that is action in ignorance. Prabhupada writes in the purport, one of the verse, in 22nd verse, that the knowledge of common man is always in the mode of darkness or ignorance. One who does not develop knowledge through the authorities of scriptures or scriptural injunction has knowledge that is limited to the body. He is not concerned about acting in terms of the directions of the scriptures. For him, God is money, and knowledge means the satisfaction of bodily demands. Such knowledge has no connection with the absolute truth. It is more or less like knowledge of ordinary animals, the knowledge of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. Such knowledge is described here as the product of modes of darkness. If you think about the current education system, what is being taught from play school to PhD, everything is captured in this last paragraph by Prabhupada. It is simply teaching us how to do eating, mating, sleeping, defending, and that's it. And therefore, it is in the mode of darkness. It has no connection. It doesn't even teach you that you're a spirit soul. It doesn't even teach you that you have a mind. It doesn't even teach you there are modes of material nature that exist. And it definitely does not talk about super soul and our duty relationship with that supreme soul. So it's all going to be binding. The knowledge is simply at the level of animal. We just become dvipada pashu, nothing better than that. And that's why that's the failure of current education system. Performers in three modes: goodness, one who work without false ego, with determination, enthusiasm, steady in both success and failure, is acting in mode of goodness. Worker in the mode of goodness. The passionate worker work with creative desires, with greed, envy, lack of cleanliness, not steady in both success and failure. Means one who get affected by failure and success both. One get depressed when he fail and one will get elated when he succeeds, is in the mode of passion. So all of us probably are in the mode of passion, or maybe if you're practicing devotee, maybe passion going towards goodness, because that is what our lifelong practice has been. And one in the ignorance, the work, the obstinately goes against the authority, is lazy, dejected, procrastinates, cheat, and insult others to achieve success. That's ignorance, tamoguni person. 27th purport में प्रभुपाद जी लिखते हैं कि a person who is too much attached to a certain kind of work or to the result because he has too much attachment for materialism or hearth and home, wife, children. Such a person has no desire for higher elevation to in his life. He is simply concerned with making this world as materially comfortable as possible. He is generally very greedy and he thinks that anything is attained by him is permanent and never to be lost. Such a person is envious of others and prepared to do anything wrong for sense gratification. Buddhi Bheda and Dhruti, determination, understanding and determination. Understanding in goodness can distinguish right from wrong. That is mode of goodness. That is not bhakti. That is just mode of goodness. But bhakti करने से ही वो गुण आता है. Distinguish right from wrong. Otherwise, passion means can't distinguish what is right and wrong. So a lot of people we hear saying, जो आपको ठीक लगता है वो आपके लिए सही है, जो मुझे ठीक लगता है वो मेरे लिए सही है. So आप भी सही हो, मैं भी सही हूँ, कोई गलत नहीं है. That is passionate understanding. That's not right understanding. And 32वें श्लोक में भगवान सिखाते हैं कि मिस्टेक राइट फ्रॉम रॉन्ग. सो वो रॉन्ग को समझ लेता है स्मोकिंग करना ही अच्छा है एंड देन कीप स्मोकिंग. दैट इज हाउ अ पर्सन इन इग्नोरेंस विल एक्ट. 30वें अध्याय के श्लोक में प्रभुपाद जी लिखते हैं कि परफॉर्मिंग एक्शन इन टर्म्स ऑफ डायरेक्शंस ऑफ द स्क्रिप्चर्स कॉल्ड प्रवृत्ति. सो यू कैन रीड थ्रू दिस. सम ऑफ दिस वी विल स्कीप. Then determination we will talk about in three modes. That goodness का determination है, unbreakable determination to achieve liberation by sense control. One who is trying to do control his senses, they understand कि sense control नहीं किया अजितेंद्रिय पुरुष के लिए कुछ भी हासिल करना मुश्किल है. और मुझे भक्ति में अगर प्रोग्रेस करना है तो सेंस कंट्रोल इज एसेंशियल फॉर मी. So that is in that person is in the mode of goodness. A passionate person के लिए unbreakable determination to achieve sense gratification. उनका determination होता है how to maximize my sense enjoyment, economic sense enjoyment, economic development, and mundane religiosity. And ignorance cannot go beyond dreaming. You can read through this. We'll move on quickly. Happiness in sattva and rajo and tamo guna. Happiness in sattva guna is goodness is happiness means poison first, nectar later. Getting up early in the morning, if one is trying to become a devotee, one is asking, every devotees are asking you to wake up early in the morning and do japa. Now you may find it poison at the beginning, but if you practice it for to start with for 5 days, 10 days, 20 days, slowly you will get a taste. Will develop a taste for japa, and then it will be nectar from then onwards till eternity. So 37th verse, Krishna is saying happiness may taste like a poison at the beginning, but it will become nectar from then till eternity. Happiness in passion seems like a nectar at the beginning. जो शराब पीते हैं, जो those who eat meat, those who eat smoke cigarettes, and वो सब बहुत अच्छा लगता है to beginning at the beginning and becomes poison at later stage. And ignorance only an illusory hope for nectar poison from the beginning to end arise from intoxication and sleep. Pursuit of self-realization, one has to follow many rules and regulations to control the mind and senses and to concentrate his mind on the self. All these procedures are very difficult, bitter like poison. But if one is successful in following the regulations and come to the transcendental position, he begins to drink real nectar and enjoy his life. As a sadhaka, we may experience some struggle in hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna. But once we get taste, we can experience unlimited joy. Anandam ambudhi vardhanam pratipadam purnamruta swadanam. Mahaprabhu says the joy, what kind of joy you can, spiritual happiness that you can get in by practicing uh, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam is unlimited. Anandam Ambudhi Vardhanam. Ambudhi means ocean like Ananda, ocean like happiness. Vardhanam means ever increasing ocean. Ocean भी limited नहीं, ever increasing ocean. And when it increases, साल में एक बार नहीं increase होता. प्रति पदम, at every step it is increasing. Once you, as you do one chant, one Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it increases, and so on and so forth. So this is unimaginable by our material senses, that how we can experience such joy. 40वें श्लोक में भगवान बोलते हैं कि there is no being existing either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary system which is freed from these three modes of material nature. That means everyone is under influence of material nature. Only Krishna is above. Therefore, only Krishna is worshipable. Only we should be worshipping Krishna, nobody else, because everyone else is affected by the modes. So that therefore demigod worship Krishna explains, but he doesn't recommend. He in fact criticize. He call those who worship demigod are mudhas or alpamethasam, or having smaller intelligence, or not, or foolish people. They don't understand that whatever those demigods will give ultimately has to be sanctioned by me, and that's for we should only worship Krishna. This is where he establishes that worshipping anybody else will not help you go out, go, rise above the modes of material nature. You can only perform bhakti to Vasudev Krishna and rise above the modes of material nature and go to the spiritual world. The the modes of nature affect everyone in this world, as spoken in the verse 40. And how it affects? It affects in four ways. It creates four categories of people. Maya चतुर्वर्ण मया सृष्टि गुण कर्म विभागशया. गुण कर्म विभागशया कौन से है वो चार? ब्राह्मण, क्षत्रिय, वैश्य एंड शूद्र. ना गुण जन्म नहीं है. सो आज जो जन्म से ब्राह्मण है, दे शुड नॉट कंसिडर देमसेल्फ एज ब्राह्मण. गुण और कर्मों के हिसाब से चार गुण कर्म विभाग, शायद चार विभाग किए हैं पूरे समाज के. एंड ब्राह्मण क्या करते हैं? ब्राह्मणों के क्या गुण हैं? वर्क बाय बीइंग पीसफुल, शमो दमो तप. These are qualities of Brahmanas that are explained. That work by being peaceful, self-controlled, austere, pure, tolerant, honest, knowledgeable, wise, religious. 42वें अध्याय के 42nd verse. So anybody who claim himself to be Brahman should be all of this. He is still not a devotee, but he has to be all this. And devotee is all, no, all the moment you become devotee, you would try becoming a devotee, all these great qualities manifest in you. um, and imagine if you possess all these great qualities, how valuable person you will become, um, how great person you can get. And we admire people with these qualities. Anyone who is able to do sense control, mind control, shamo damo, tapa, perform austerity, who is pure, who is tolerant, who is clean, he is honest, trustworthy, knowledgeable, wise, religious, all those people are, all these qualities are admired in society. So and these qualities are manifested automatically in a devotee, and hence he may not be brahmana by birth, but by his activities, by his gunas that he has developed, he can become brahmana. And those who are born in the families of brahmana but are not able to demonstrate any of these qualities, they are not to be considered as brahmana. Who are kshatriyas? Kshatriyas work by being heroic, powerful, determined, resourceful, courageous in battle, generous, dominant. That is explained in 43rd verse. 44th verse explains both Vaishya and Shudras. The work at farming, cow protection, trade, and Shudras work by serving other three castes. Another important question, go to the chat box and answer this, why and no. Is work worship? We are going to switch the topic. Work is worship. Do you agree? Okay, we'll not go into the group discussion, but yes, let's see what Krishna has to say on this. 46th verse is the verse which is grossly misunderstood verse, the most misunderstood verse in the entire Bhagavad Gita. Uh, so let's see what Krishna is saying here. यतः प्रवृत्ति यतः प्रवृत्तिर्भूतानां येन सर्वमिदं ततं स्वकर्मणा तम तमभ्यश्चर्य सिद्धिं सिद्धिं विन, विद, विनन, विन्दति मानवः सिद्धिं विन्दति मानवः. Bhagavan Krishna is saying that by worship of the Lord, who is the source of all being and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all being and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. Now, his own work, if he perform, it can become worship. Let's see a little bit more in detail. Everyone should think that he is engaged in a particular type of occupation by Rishikesha, the master of the senses, and by the result of the work in which one is engaged, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, should be worshipped. If one thinks always in this way, in full Krishna consciousness, then by the grace of the Lord, he becomes fully aware of everything. That is the perfection of life. So you can read this again. We're running out of time. We'll go over time actually. But let's do it. It's worth it. Everyone should think that he is engaged in a particular type of occupation by Rishikesha. That we should think that we are engaged in our work by Krishna, the master of senses, and by the result of work in which I'm engaged, whatever I'm doing, I'm working in my call center, I'm working as an accountant, I'm working in a bank, I'm working as a merchant trader, or have my own business as a lawyer, whatever am I doing, um, engage the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be worshipped. My goal is to not make money. My goal is to somehow worship by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is the way one has to think. Then he can become fully aware of everything. Let's go a little bit more in detail. Krishna, in this case, does not say work is worship. Krishna doesn't say work is worship. If we simply consider work as worship, then we can say that the donkey is the greatest worshipper because donkey works so hard. Work, if we were to say that work is worship, then donkey becomes the biggest worshipper, the greatest worshipper because he worked very hard. That is not what Krishna is saying. It can have limited use to highlight each work is critical. The work reference has limited use to highlight that each work is different, each work is critical, and one should act according to their nature, means they should do what they are best suited to do. ऐसा नहीं कि विग्रह की उपासना करना ही भक्ति है. Everything, if you are not suited to do that job, and if you are working in the bank as a cashier, how can that work also become bhakti? Now that it's not that work is bhakti, but it can become bhakti. So when in hospital, we should, what is mean, whatever is suitable to you, you should do. Whatever is suitable to your psychophysical nature is what you should do. At times it's impossible, it's our psychophysical nature is not suitable to become a brahmachari, wear saffron. Then we should not act to become saffron because those who wear saffron get a lot of respect. No, That is incorrect. So Chaitanya gives an example that when in hospital you should take your own medicine, even though medicine prescribed for other people seems to be more tasty or more attractive, have good packing. You shouldn't be doing that. You're supposed to be taking your own medicine, whatever is prescribed to you. Similarly, you should be doing activities which are designed for your psychology, basis your psychophysical nature. You shouldn't be trying to do somebody else's work. So that is the teaching. The Bhagavad Gita is by your work, worship the Supreme. Bhagavad Gita is what Bhagavad Gita is teaching is not work is worship. By your work, worship the Supreme. What is the difference? This essentially means that God is not disconnected from the world. Some people think in order to worship God, one needs to renounce the world and go to a secluded place and worship God. Even Arjuna thought in this way and wanted to give up his Kshatriya duty before the Mahabharata war. In the first half, Krishna is talking about connectedness with the world, with God. That is, yatah pravrittir bhutanam. The world has come from the God, and then yena sarvam idam tatam. By him, the whole world is pervaded. Therefore, when we work in this world, we can worship the Supreme through our work. It's not that our work and Supreme is are disconnected. If you are Even if you're working as a construction worker on a construction site, you can still see Krishna there in the material that you're using to build that construction site. You see everything has manifested from Krishna. So so a devotee can see connectedness with Krishna with everything. Krishna is connected with everything. The Bhumi Rapo Nalo Vayu, using which only you will make a building. You will construct a building. उसमें पानी होगा, cement होगा. Cement nothing but an element which comes from Bhumi. So there will be fire, the steel will be melted using fire, and there are so many other elements which will go in different combinations to make up construct a building. So a devotee, when working on the construction site, all see construction site as manifestation of Krishna. And therefore he is never disconnected from Krishna. A stress in this verse is on the connectedness of God with the world and connect connectedness of our work with God. If we have right vision, we will always see our work, how our work is connected with God. Srila Prabhupada one time said that if somebody is alcoholic and they cannot give up alcohol, then let them think that the taste of alcohol is Krishna. Everything attractive actually comes from God. So the taste in alcohol, which that alcoholic is finding it attractive, also comes from God. If they think like this, then one day they will become a devotee of Krishna. Prabhupada is here not saying that by drinking alcohol you will become devotee of Krishna. By thinking about Krishna while drinking, that thought of Krishna will stimulate the spiritual connection, and that can help you become a devotee of Krishna. 1846 Krishna says, worship the Supreme with your work, which means apart from direct worship, your work can also be engaged in worship. Different work have different consequences and effect of the consequences. Hence, not all work can be equally considered to be form of worship. Somebody is a butcher and has a job of cutting necks of animals. If that is his only profession, that is the only thing that he can do, and even if he for some reason he cannot quit this job, then uh, then they should do some activity to worship God, connect themselves with God, and give up the fruits of what they are earning in this service. By doing so, some level of connection will be established with the God. So work by itself is not worship. Otherwise, we will all become donkeys, and by donkeys we'll become, the greatest worshippers. We have to worship through our work. If you cannot directly worship, at least see your work as a means to serve the Supreme. That is how connect it with Krishna. When you connect your banking cashier work with Krishna, that work also becomes Krishna worship. And when you give up the fruits of your work, then definitely it becomes worship. So if you cannot connect it that way, at least give up the fruit of work. And that way the worship can be done. So work is not worship. um, the so that is the point that we discuss. We'll share the slides, you can go through, we can discuss if you have questions. Mohit Prabhuji had said no. I'm very happy, Prabhuji. So, Jnana, Dhyana, Bhakti. Now, Prabhupada, Krishna is going to switch gears. Now we are coming to the concluding part of Bhagavad Gita. And so here, Krishna is explaining how by Dhyana, uh, one a who Jnani perform Dhyana and eventually become Bhakta. How does his transition happens? That is explained in the verse 51 to 53. I'll just read the purport. Translation: being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in secluded place, who eats little, who control his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship and peaceful, such a person certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. Then comes this famous verse, Brahma bhutah prasannatma na shochati na kangshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim lavate param. इतनी मेहनत करके ज्ञानी बन के ध्यान करके अभी हमने पढ़ा कि इतना सेक्युलर प्लेस पे जाना पड़ेगा, सब कर्म फल त्याग करना पड़ेगा, मटेरियल चीजों का न्यास रिजेक्ट करना पड़ेगा, अकेले रहना पड़ेगा, कम खाना पड़ेगा, ट्रांस में रहना पड़ेगा हमेशा। एंड इतनी मेहनत करने के बाद वन विल कम टू अ ब्रह्मभूत प्रसन्न आत्मा, ब्रह्मभूत स्टेज। एंड ब्रह्मभूत स्टेज का फ्रूट क्या है? फ्रूट ये है मद भक्तिम लभते पराम, आपको भक्ति करनी पड़ेगी उसके बाद। तो हम शुरू से ही क्यों ना भक्ति करें, ये मेहनत क्यों करें? दैट इज द पॉइंट कृष्णा विल ड्राइव नाउ। सो वन हु इज thus transcendentally situated at once once realizes that the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desire to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Mat bhakti labate param. मेरी भक्ति उनको मिलती है। ये मेहनत करने के बाद अगर उनकी भक्ति करनी है तो डे वन से क्यों ना हम भक्ति करें? सो दैट इज द मैसेज। एवरीवन शुड थिंक दैट ही इज एंगेज इन अ पर्टिकुलर टाइप ऑफ ऑक्यूपेशन बाय ऋषिकेशा। In the material concept of life, when one work for sense gratification, there is misery. But in the absolute world, when one is engaged in pure devotional service, there is no misery. The devotee in Krishna consciousness has nothing for which he lament or desire. Because a pure devotee has no thought other than Krishna, he is naturally always joyful. He does not lament nor for any material loss or for aspire gain, because he is always full in the service of God. So this has a longish purport. I have given the important sections from the purport, but Prabhupada makes a point that na shochati na kangshati, no, it neither desires and nor any lament. Why lament? What is the connection between lamentation, desire, and lamentation? When you desire, either you get, and when you get it, either you don't get it as per your expectation. Even if you get it, it gets over or you get over. So lamentation will follow. And when you don't get, there is lamentation right from the beginning. So the senses are like serpents whose poisonous teeth are broken. As there is no fear of a serpent with broken teeth, there is no fear from the senses when they are automatically controlled. The world is miserable for those materially infected person, but for a devotee, the entire world is as good as Vaikuntha or a spiritual sky. Such a stage can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who preach pure devotional service in this age. By simply chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you can become pure devotee. Love of God, the supreme objective, 55, 56. Bhaktya mam vijanati yavanyashchasmi tataha tato mam laptatvato dyatvam vishate tadanantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the supreme personality of Godhead, only by bhakti, devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, By such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. The Supreme Person of Godhead, Krishna, and his plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation nor by non devotees. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Person of Godhead, he has to take to the pure devotion service under guidance of a devotee. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Person of Godhead will always remain hidden. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.25, Naham Prakash Sarvasya, he is not revealed to everyone. Again, a longish purport. Uh, please go through uh, this very at detail. We will move to the next verse. सर्वकर्मण्य अपि सदा कुर्वाणो मद व्यपाश्रयाः मत मत प्रसादात् तवाप्नोति शाश्वतम padam avyayam. Though engage in all kind of activities, my pure devotees under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. The again, Prabhat quotes the verse from Biji 12, where Krishna says that Tesham हम समुद्धरता 12वें अध्याय के 6 एंड 7 श्लोका भी कोट किए हैं इसके परपट में. तेषाम हम समुद्धरता मृत्यु संसार सागरात भवामि न चिरात पार्थ मयि वैश सचेतसाम. So that verse is also quoted here. Beautiful purport. Please feel free to go through these slides, read through these purports, and very beautiful, and meditate on them. Think of them how they are applicable to my life. कि भक्ति भक्ता माम अभिजानाति, कि हम सिर्फ भक्ति से भगवान को जान सकते हैं. और यहाँ तो लेफ्ट राइट सेंटर हम कोशिश करते हैं कि हम ही भगवान है और हम ही सब जानते हैं और भगवान के बारे में हमको सब पता है. ऐसे ही हम डिबेट करते हैं लंच टेबल पे. But that's not true, unfortunately. So we should take to Bhagavad Gita, study Bhagavad Gita with lot of dedication. जैसे हम सीए का पढ़ाई करेंगे, आईएएस का पढ़ाई करेंगे, आईआईटी का पढ़ाई करेंगे, मेडिकल का करेंगे, वैसे ही ये पढ़ाई भी करनी चाहिए हमको. भगवत गीता भी ऐसे भाव से पढ़नी चाहिए. एंड देन वी कैन स्टार्ट लर्निंग समथिंग फ्रॉम भगवत गीता बाय कृष्णा's grace. 57th verse, चेतसा सर्वकर्माणि मयि चन्यस्य चेतमत्परः बुद्धि योगम उपाश्रित्य मच्चित्तः सततं भव. In all activities, just depend on me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. When one acts in Krishna consciousness, he does not act as the master of the world. Just like a servant, one should act fully under the directions of the Supreme Lord. A servant has no individual independence. He acts only on the order of master. A servant acting on behalf of the Supreme Master is unaffected by the profit or loss. He simply discharges his duty faithfully in terms of the order of the Lord. Now, one may argue that Arjuna was acting under the personal directions of Krishna, but when Krishna is not present, what should we act? If one act according to the directions of Krishna in this book, as well as under the guidance of representatives of Krishna, then the result will be the same. So, this is our encouragement. Take Bhagavad Gita as your guide and decide basis Bhagavad Gita what to be done, what not to be done. So this is perfect Krishna consciousness. One has no goal in life save and except acting in the Krishna consciousness just to satisfy Krishna. This is perfect Krishna consciousness. Okay. Another beautiful verse. Machitta sarva durgani mat prasadat tarishyati athachetvatvam ahankara na shrosyasi vinakshasi. If you become conscious of me, Machitta, Krishna consciousness name arises from this term, Machitta sarva durgani. By if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. Mat prasadat tarishyati. Tarishyati swim over, cross over. If however अगर आप ये नहीं सुनेंगे, मेरा नहीं सुनोगे, and if you'll act on your own terms, आप मेरा न सुन के आप अपने मन से असचेतवत्वम अहंकार, अपने अहंकार को सुनोगे और अपनी मनमर्जी करोगे, अपनी मन मर्जी बिहेव करोगे, न श्रोस्यसि, आप मेरा नहीं सुनोगे, विनक्ष्यसि, you will be lost. Prabhupada write in the beautiful purport that But as soon as one act in Krishna consciousness is liberated, free from the material perplexities, one should note very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness is losing himself in the material whirlpool, in the ocean of birth and death. No conditioned soul actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But a person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master. The phrase Krishna consciousness came from the Machita. You will flourish with Krishna, perish without Krishna. So you will always remain humble. And when you know this, when you know that all whatever achievements that you are getting are due to Krishna, you will always be humble in all your successes. So Jiva desires, Krishna sanctions, and Jagat, material nature, executes. Then you will be able to act according to the instructions of Krishna. But when you forget this knowledge, then you think you can do without Krishna's help, then you ahankar, you are listening to your own ahankar. Now, vinakshati, this is what will happen. This is not in material term. You may have decent material comfort, but your spiritual consciousness will get destroyed. Killer of the soul is a concept that's spoken in the Nectar of Instruction and Ishopanishad, which means that one soul is naturally in soul is meant just like fish is meant for water, soul is meant for service to Krishna. And if you deprive that soul of service to Krishna, it is as good as killing a soul. So that is what it means. Suffering will come to everyone. Devotee, non-devotee, दोनों को suffering आएगी. But non-devotee suffering आती है, it leads to frustration. And when the soul forget that he is spiritual, part of Krishna, he does not have any understanding of spiritual happiness. For there such a person, material happiness is the only happiness, and material enjoyment is the only happiness, his enjoyment he knows. But devotee, and then the experience and suffering misery when our plans don't work out according to our expectation, we experience suffering and misery. So when there are problems which either obstruct or interrupt our material enjoyment, we call them, that becomes the cause of our frustration, frustration and misery. And when frustration is expressed internally, it leads to self-pity, inferiority complex, and stress, anxiety, and even suicide. And when the expressed externally, it leads to violence. I know this is where we are. All of us suffer from all these emotional, mental issues, of psychological issues, of anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, inferiority complex, self pity hoti hai. All of these lead to can lead to even suicide if it is not checked. And a lot of us, the whole generation of youth, is suffering from these symptoms, and right from early age, right from school age. But and so when they are when you internally express them, this is what it leads to. When you externally express them, it leads to violence. So it's a disaster either way. So for a devotee, there is spiritual happiness also. Apart from material happiness, they also have spiritual happiness. They know how to get that spiritual happiness. When they come to temple, when they dance and sing with devotees, they get spiritual happiness. So they have access to additional source of happiness, which a materialist doesn't have. And therefore, materialist actually becomes dependent on that material happiness. And when he doesn't get that happiness, he becomes frustrated and miserable. So here, a devotee, uh, devotee's life is, it's not that devotee's life is problem free, or devotees say that I will become devotee or I will do japa only when I don't have problems. The moment I get a problem, I'll stop doing japa. It is not conditional to not having material problems also. But a devotee can get realization, can experience renunciation and devotion. And by that, they can always be happy. They can navigate through the problematic situations. What is realization? When we accept that what is written in the scripture is true. When we get a problem where scripture says that this world is a place of misery, and when we experience problem, we understand that yes, what is written in the scripture is true. Renunciation, give up enjoying and controlling mentality. One needs to cultivate that consciousness by constantly reading Bhagavad Gita, hearing Krishna Katha, that everything is owned and controlled by Krishna. Even if it is in my possession right now, it's temporary and I should use it for serving Krishna. So there is a natural renunciation, detachment that get developed with the things and people in this world and our own own qualities. Devotional service brings peace and happiness. Each suffering experience will help a devotee take greater shelter of Krishna, going closer to Krishna. So this is how we can go through this. A devotee might be perplexed but never discouraged. Perplexed means not knowing what to do, and discouraged means not feeling like serving Krishna. A pure devotee like Prabhupada, when he went to US, he was at times perplexed how to serve Krishna. He didn't knew what to do, how to do, but he was never discouraged. He was always thinking, I have to serve Krishna, but how I will serve Krishna, that was not clear. And so you might be perplexed, but you will never discourage. Mentally, he never thought and woke up in the morning and said, why should I worship Krishna? He was always eager to worship Krishna, serve Krishna. But at times he was confused how to serve Krishna, how to serve Krishna. So that is what we understand about the pure devotees. And we can become one by simply doing japa, by simply doing hearing Krishna Katha, and by serving other devotees. यद अहंकारम आश्रित्य न योत्स्य इति मन्यसे मिथ्यैष व्यवसायस्ते प्रकृतिस्त्वां नियोक्ष्यति. If you do not act according to my directions and not fight, then you will be falsely directed by your nature and you will have to engage in the warfare anyway. So Arjun Prabhupada writes in the purport, Arjun is a military man, so it is natural duty is to fight. But because of false ego, if he is fearing killing of his teacher and grandfather, if he refuses to fight, then even that is not going to last long. Because if you go to go begging and people refuse to give you alms, as a sannyasi you should be calm, but as a kshatriya, your nature can take over, and then you may start arguing and fighting with the people who are refusing to give you bhiksha. So again you will end up fighting a war because of your swabhava. So it's not, so one should properly practice, one should listen to Krishna, one should just listen to Krishna. एंड 60वें श्लोक में भगवान बोलते हैं कि अंडर इल्यूजन you are now declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born out of your own nature, swabhava jena, you will act all the time, all the same, O son of Kunti. So one may think here कि स्वभाव, Arjuna may refuse to act according to Krishna's instruction, but Swabhava will force him to act. So is Swabhava supreme? Is Swabhava superior? Krishna says, no, no. Swabhava is not supreme. Ishvara sarva bhutanam ruddeshe Arjuna trishtati. Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani maya. There is a Ishvara who is residing in the region of your heart. Uh, Krishna, Supreme Lord, is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing, wondering, Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani, wonderings of all living entities who are seated on the machine made up of material energy. Prabhupada writes, how does it happen? The Supreme Person of Godhead, he himself, Krishna, as localized super soul, sits in the heart directing the living beings. After changing bodies, the living entity forget his past deeds, but the super soul, as the knower of the past, present, and future, remains the witness of all his activities. The living entity gets what he deserves and is carried by the material body, which is created in the material energy under the directions of the super soul. As soon as living entity is placed in a particular type of body, he has to work under the spell of that body. Person seated in a high-speed motor car go faster than one seated in a slower car, though the living entities or the drivers may be the same. Similarly, the order of the super soul, the living entity is not independent. One should not think himself as independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual is always under the Lord's control. Therefore, one's duty is to surrender, and that is injunctions of the next verse. त्वमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् पराम शांतिम स्थानम प्राप्स्य शाश्वतम. अगेन शाश्वत स्थान प्राप्ति की बात हो रही है. ये वॉर की बात नहीं हो रही है, ये हस्तिनापुर की बात नहीं हो रही है. ये नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट इंद्रप्रस्थ वर्सेस हस्तिनापुर. इसे लड़ो इसलिए उस भगवान के शरण जाके लड़ो, मेरे शरण आके लड़ो, सो दैट आपको शाश्वत स्थान की प्राप्ति हो जाएगी. By His grace, we will attain to transcendental peace and supreme and eternal abode. We will not get into the purports. You can read those. इति ते इति ते ज्ञानमाख्यातं गुह्यात गुह्यतरं मया विमृशैतयद अशेषेण यथा इच्छासि तथा कुरु. Now Krishna is going to pause here and say that I've explained you a lot of things. विमृशैतयद अशेषेण, ये अभी मैंने कुछ छोड़ा ही नहीं है आपको बताने के लिए. तो अभी विमृशैत मतलब आप deliberate on whatever I have spoken so far from दूसरे अध्याय से 18वें अध्याय तक जो मैंने बताया है. Now you deliberate on what I have spoken, what you have heard fully, completely. आप ठीक से सोचिए and then यथा इच्छासी तथा करो, जो आपकी इच्छा हो उस तरह से आप कीजिए. So again, significant verse to understand. Krishna never takes away our independence. He retains our independence. Otherwise there's no fun. There is no the if you're independent, if you're not independent, जैसे कि कोई law बना लिया, तो there is a independence to break the law and face the consequences of the law, breaking law. But if one is forced, everyone is simply forced to follow the law, then that fun goes away. Then I cannot reward a person who is willingly able to accept and follow law. So and I cannot punish those who are not ready to follow the law. So vimrushaita vimrushaita dasheshena yatha ichhasi tatha kuru. So this free will is always retained by Lord with us. Here the yatha ichhasi tatha kuru, as you like you may act, indicate that God does not interfere with the little independence of the living entity. Bhagavad Gita Lord has explained in all respects how one can elevate his living condition. The best advice imparted to Arjuna is to surrender to the Supreme Lord seated within his heart. By right discrimination, one should agree to act according to the order of the Super Soul. That will help one become situated constantly in Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of human life. We'll move on. 64. Sarvaguhyan, because you are now here, again, Ishtosi me dhrudhamiti tato vakshyami te hitam. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Vakshyami te hitam. ये आपके फायदे के लिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ ओ अर्जुना. ये सबसे गुह्यतमम गुह्यतमम भूयः, सबसे सबसे अधिक कॉन्फिडेंशियल पार्ट है अभी जो मैं बोलने वाला हूँ. द मोस्ट कॉन्फिडेंशियल पार्ट ऑफ नॉलेज इज one is that one should become pure devotee of Krishna and always think of him and act for him. Life should be so molded that one will always have chance to think of Krishna. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with this Krishna, and he should arrange his life in such a way that throughout 24 hours he can only but think Krishna. ये प्रभा जी ये नहीं लिख रहे हैं कि अपने आप हो जाएगा, आपको भी एफर्ट करना है. यू अरेंज योर लाइफ इन सच अ वे दैट थ्रू आउट 24 आवर्स you can think about Krishna. The Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such a pure consciousness will certainly return to abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in association of Krishna face to face. The most confidential part of knowledge is spoken to Arjuna because he is very dear friend of Krishna. Everyone who follow the path of Arjuna can become dear friend to Krishna and obtain the same perfection as Arjuna. 66 verse, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Upra. Before that, 65th verse, I think I mistakenly not where Krishna says that Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskaru Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshe. Sorry. Manmana Bhava. So always think of me. Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto, become my devotee. Madhyaji, that pay obeisances to me, and Mam Namaskaru, worship me and pay obeisances to me. If you do these things, then you will certainly come to me. I promise that you will come to me. And then 66 verse, Sarva Dharman Pratyajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Ishyami Mashucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Prabhupada has given a big purport. We'll see the we'll see that part of where the process of surrender to Krishna is described in the Hari Bhakti Vilasa, 11.676. The verse, very famous verse, very beautiful verse, where there are 6 symptoms of surrender is given. Sharanagati के 6 symptoms. So अनुकूल्य संकल्प, जो अनुकूल है भक्ति के लिए वो करना चाहिए, जो प्रतिकूल्य से वर्जनाम, जो प्रतिकूल है उसका त्याग करना चाहिए। रक्षसीयो इति विश्वासो, भगवान हमारा रक्षण करने के लिए काबिल है और करेंगे, इसका विश्वास होना चाहिए। गोप्तृत्वे वर्णनम तथा आत्म नि, आत्म निक्षेप एंड कर्पण्य सद सदविधा शरणागति ही। The first two are do what is conducive for Krishna consciousness and avoid doing those things which are harmful or not helping in Krishna consciousness. The four other are the first two are actions, the other four are mental dispositions or emotional states. Having faith in Krishna that Krishna will protect, Krishna is maintainer, Krishna is my entire existence, and I am nothing without Krishna. Kripana. कर्पण्य भाव एक आना चाहिए कि आई एम नथिंग अबाउट कृष्णा, विदाउट कृष्णा आई एम नथिंग. And that will come if you understand Bhagavad Gita properly, because actually without Krishna we are nothing. Without Krishna's sanction, we cannot see tomorrow's sunrise. And we cannot cross a street, I cannot speak, you cannot hear. All this is happening because Krishna has given a sanction. When he's withdraw his permission, we may have mouth to speak, machinery to speak, thought to speak, but have no capacity to speak. And similarly can be your condition. You may lose your capacity to hear if that sanction is withdrawn. So we should be always have a karpanya bhav towards Krishna, that without you, Krishna, I am nothing. And that is not loss of self-esteem. That is just statement of reality. That is not loss of self-esteem, but it is a statement of reality, and we should be aligned with that. Can go through the purport. शरणागति, शरणम कीर्तनम स्मरणम पादसेवनम अर्चनम वंदनम दास्यम साख्यम आत्मनिवेदनम. Sharanagati, okay, the way how we can practice Sharanagati. And closing about Bhagavad Gita. Now Krishna concluded his discussion, now concludes his instruction by saying whom it should be given and whom it should not be given. Confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere, not devoted, nor engaged in devotional service, nor to the one who is envious of me. Everyone is envious of Krishna, everyone is Asura. They are trying to become mini Krishna in their own field of activity. So therefore, a lot of these people struggle to understand, make any sense out of Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is saying, उनको मत दो, उनको प्रतिकूल जो है, जो उनको अनुकूल बनने दो, फिर दो उनको ये ज्ञान. Otherwise, their envy for me will increase and they'll go further away from me. I don't want them to go more away from me. So don't give them this knowledge and increase their envy. 68th verse, Krishna says that for one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. Now this is our hope, that when we are performing, becoming a devotee, if we, by discussing it with the devotees, we can become pure devotee ourselves. We can have a very good chance of becoming pure devotee ourselves. And that way we can, our path back to Godhead can be assured. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there be ever any more dear. So this is why we do book distribution. We connect those who are enthusiastic to know more about Krishna with Krishna. And Krishna says there is nobody will ever be more, beloved to me than those people who are spreading my knowledge. And that's why Prabhupada was so dear to Krishna. Prabhupada opened more than 100 temples. He initiated more than 5,000 disciples. He connected millions and millions of people from the Western world with Krishna, who had never heard name of Krishna, became pure devotee of Krishna, pure Vaishnavas. So that is there. Imagine how dear Prabhupada will be to Krishna, because this is what Krishna is supposed to do. Krishna loves to do, but Krishna is struggling to do, and Prabhupada went and helped Krishna in doing so. So just imagine how much more mercy Prabhupada would have received from Krishna. So text 70, and I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worship me by his intelligence. So study of Bhagavad Gita is also worship of Bhagavad Gita. The text 71, and one who listens with faith and without envy become free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets of the pious dwell, where the pious people dwell. So this is the Falashruti of discussion on Bhagavad Gita. Every book has some Falashruti that is guaranteed that if you do this with dedication, with all your heart, all sincerity, this is the fruit that you will get after studying Bhagavad Gita. Since 72nd verse, Krishna is again checking with Arjuna that, O conqueror of the wealth, have you heard this knowledge and attentive mind? And as your ignorance and has now gone. So Arjuna confirms that nashto mohat smrtir labdva tvat prasadan maya achyuta stitosmi gata sandeha karishya vachanam tava. Arjuna said that, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. Tvat prasadan maya achyuta. And I am now firm and free from any doubt and am prepared to act according to your instructions. So if your instruction is to fight a war, I'm prepared to kill all the people. If your instruction is to leave the war, go home, do nothing, I'm prepared to do that. And just tell me what to do, I will do. Now that's a stage at which Arjuna comes. And that transformation was possible because he heard attentively instructions of Krishna. He is pure devotee of Krishna. And by simply acting on the devotion of Krishna over last few months, over last few verses, or last few chapters, his illusion is now gone. So 74th, Sanjay says, now Sanjay speaks, thus I have heard the conversation of the two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. 75, the mercy of Vyasadev. I have heard the most confidential talks directly from the master of all mystics, Krishna, and who was speaking this personally to Arjuna. 76, O king, I repeatedly recall this wondrous holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. I take pleasure being thrilled of every moment. And 77, he says, O king, as I remember this wonderful form of Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्ण यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धर तत्र विजय तत्र श्री विजयो श्री विजयो भूति ध्रुवा नीतिर मतिर्ममिम ध्रुवा नीतिर नीतिर्मति मम. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, yatra yogeshwaraha Krishna, yatra partho dhanurdhara. And yeah, wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, and extraordinary power and morality. That is my opinion. This is how um, this is how Sanjay concludes Bhagavad Gita, which was started by Dhritarashtra in first chapter, first verse, where he says, uh, Mamaka Panda Kim Kurvanta Sanjaya, that the Dharmakshetra Kurukshetra Samaveta Yuyatsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kim Akurvanta Sanjaya. तो धर्मक्षेत्र कुरुक्षेत्र पे आए हुए असेंबल हुए मेरे और पंडु के पुत्रों ने क्या किया आगे. And after speaking the entire Bhagavad Gita, Sanjay is thrilled, enthralled, and he's now describing that Arjun ने भी धनुष्य उठा लिया है. तत्र पार्थ धनुर्धर यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धर. अब वो जो गांडीव उन्होंने निकाल के रखा था वो उठा लिया है. जैसे कृष्ण तो योगेश्वर है ही, अब पार्थ भी धनुर्धर बन गए हैं. तो अब उसमें श्री विजय और extraordinary power, bhuti dhruta, determination, opulence, and niti means morality. ये सब जगह सब उसी जगह होंगे जहां पे भगवान होंगे, भगवान प्रेजेंट होंगे. सो इनडायरेक्टली संजय इज टेलिंग धृतराष्ट्र कि आपका जो होप है कि ये वॉर ही ना हो जाए, या वॉर टल जाए, या वॉर हो पर पांडवों की पराभव हो वो नहीं होने वाला है डायरेक्टली. So Dhritarashtra becomes extremely sad after hearing the entire conversation of Bhagavad Gita, whereas Arjuna has been transformed from a crying soul to a one Dhanurdhari Arjuna. Tatra Partha, Yatra Partha Dhanurjhara. And Sanjay has been enthralled by seeing Krishna's form, that Vishwarupa Darshan, and hearing and recalling all his instructions. Sanjay is an ordinary chariot driver of Dhritarashtra, but he's been completely thrilled. He's extremely happy. बोले रोंगटे खड़े हो गए मेरे शरीर पे, and I'm experiencing goosebumps every now and then. As I recall that conversation, as I recall that form, I'm experiencing all these beautiful symptoms of ecstasy in my body, and then so these are the effects that the same Bhagavad Gita had on Arjuna, on Sanjay, and Dhritarashtra. It had no effect. So anyone who is not a devotee, who is not surrendered to Krishna, who is having envious attitude towards Krishna, who is not who is not even ready to become submissive towards Krishna, cannot learn anything from Krishna, anything from Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita instructions are meant for those who are ready to accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, at least theoretically at the beginning. During the course of Bhagavad Gita, they will understand that indeed Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worshiping Him, apart from worshiping Him, there is no other business for the living entity. And that's what everyone should be doing. So with this, we conclude our discussion on Bhagavad Gita. But as I said, from next Sunday onwards, we will do deep dive on various themes of Bhagavad Gita, and we'll there are five broad themes: Jiva, Ishvara, Prakriti, uh, Karma, and Sakala. So these are five themes, and we will work around these five themes, and see what we can learn by doing a deep dive into the Bhagavad Gita across these five themes. So hopefully that will keep us busy over few Sundays before we start with our new book in Nectar of Instruction or Ishopanishad, or I may get some other service. But until then, let's continue. We'll also have a session. We'll arrange for a session for all our group with Narottam Prem Das, who is a senior devotee under whose guidance we are conducting these classes. He wanted to have a session with all of you. So we'll publish by checking his details of his timing availability, but it should be done on the similar time so that there's no surprise. We do it on Sunday 11 a.m. Mm. So with this, we'll conclude our today's session. I'll just wait for any question answer that we may have.
Prabhuji will be needing the recording because I have missed so many parts in between because of some urgent calls. So,
Yes, Mataji, I have recorded the session. Just like other sessions, I will have this uploaded and we'll share the link in the group.
ji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Again, want to thank, there are so many devotees who have attended actually all 18 sessions. I must personally congratulate them and be thankful for them for 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 keeping faith in the play in my in me, and coming on all 18 Sundays without taking any break, without having. I'm sure they must have done a lot of sacrifices to be able to attend uh, these 2 hours at every Sunday or straight for 18 sessions. Really very very grateful to them, and we just pray to Lord that all of them, all of you, should progress in Krishna consciousness nicely, take up Krishna consciousness with a lot of faith, a lot of enthusiasm, and then you'll be all eligible to receive Krishna's mercy and then like that progress in Krishna consciousness very nicely. As I said, we'll continue with our sessions for a few more weeks at least, and we'll meet next Sunday with a new theme on Bhagavad Gita, and we'll do a deep dive and see how we can practically apply the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to our day-to-day life. We'll see that linkage more and more as we do these deep dives. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and staying back till almost 21 minutes past 1 o'clock. We'll meet next Sunday with a new theme on Bhagavad Gita. Till then, have a great Krishna conscious week ahead, and we'll meet next time, next Sunday. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, everyone, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna,
so much
Prabhuji,
for your
Dandavat Pranam,
dedication for
Prabhuji.
18
So much,
weeks. Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you
Dandavat
so
Krishna
much.
pranam.
Prabhuji,
Thank you so
Dandavat
much.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Panchang Pranam.